back to another episode of the Truest Crime. This case is kind of like the last one where there's not a whole lot of information, but there's a lot more information. This is the case of a 14-year-old girl named Dana Bradley, and I would like to get right into the case, so sit down, grab a snack, and let's take a deep dive into the Truest Crime. Starting off this case, Dana was born July 24th, 1967, and went missing December 14th of 1981. She lived in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, and was a secondary school student, which is the equivalent of high school in places that aren't the United States. And nobody really knows exactly when she went missing, except for the fact that she went missing on December 14th. There, however, was an eyewitness who saw Dana getting into a car with a male driver. Again, there's no for sure way of knowing if Dana did in fact get into the car with a male driver. It really just comes from the witness themselves. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information regarding this case about Dana herself and anything leading up to this. But something I will say is that even with the eyewitness's statement being made, there's no for sure way to fact check that statement because it could be considered hearsay. And this is something that I have learned in school being a criminal justice student. And a lot of the time when a witness says one thing and then it starts a chain reaction, and then it ends up becoming hearsay because nobody can fact check the original statement and the stories get mixed up. So if there was only one eyewitness, then they may have actually seen this go down, but there's also a big chance that it is not actually true and Dana could have been just walking down the street and this person picked her up. So she may not even have willingly gotten the car. About 4 days later, after Dana went missing on December 18th, 1981, Dana's body would be found on Maddox Road. And her body would be found in a burial fashion, which means she was buried or disposed of, and they put her in a burial fashion pose for when she would ultimately be found. The cause of death would be ruled blunt force trauma, and her skull was fractured, and when she was found, her school books were tucked under her arm, which that to me just that's really sad that whoever did this to her realized that she was a student and just decided to place her in a way that still made it look like she was a school student. My thoughts on this case are that it was very sad that someone so young had to go in the way that they did, and the way that she went was extremely brutal. And I could not imagine someone going out in that fashion. It just, that's awful. And the last case I did was on a 17-year-old girl from Roswell, New Mexico, who unfortunately passed away in the same fashion, where she was struck in the back of the head. And both of these cases are just extremely sad, and the fact that these were such young girls makes it even sadder. I am just going to give my opinion here, and I hope that, there are parents out there that might agree with me on this. My opinion is that I think that it's incredibly important for kids who are 13 and up to have a smartphone, so that way they can call their parents, call the police, or somebody they trust to make sure they make it home safe. And especially for kids who walk home from school, or whatever, they need to have a way to let their parents know that they've made it home safe. And there's also many things on the phones now that you can use, such as Life 360, which is a way to keep track of your family and where they're at, just to make sure that they're safe. And that is something that I think could be very utilized for parents, just to ensure the safety of their children even more. And because the internet is such a vastly large thing, social media is not safe. Things like TikTok, Twitter/X, Instagram, all of that stuff. It's so dangerous if the wrong person stumbles over a profile. And that doesn't go just for kids, but that goes for adults too. And I will say adults need to be careful too, not just children. But because this case is about somebody who is under the age of 18, that is why I'm saying that it's important for kids to have cell phones, especially now. I grew up in the 2010, like the early 2010s, and when I was younger, around 11, I only had started to use a cell phone, but I didn't have a smartphone or anything like that. I had a flip phone, and then I had, a couple of other phones. And it wasn't until I got to maybe about 8th or 9th grade where I actually got an actual smartphone. So it's really important that we utilize these extra precautions in order to make sure that, kids are safe when they're not at home. A story of mine that my mom has recanted to me is when I was offered a ride home from one of my friends at school, and this was in middle school. And I gladly took the ride, not realizing that my mom and my grandma had already gotten to the school so they could pick me up. And I didn't realize how terrified my mom was. And thankfully I had a cell phone to call her so that way I could, make sure that I got in the house. But she almost called the police because the school couldn't find me anywhere. My mom couldn't find me anywhere. It was a big thing, and I never realized how scared I made her that day. Because for all she knew, I could have been kidnapped. And I know for her that's, her worst nightmare. Or it was at the time. But even still, I think it might be, even though, I'm well into my 20s now. But yeah, that's an example, at least from my life. And, I apologize to my mom. I know my mom watches my videos, so I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to scare you. But yeah, and I think she would agree with me 100% that it's important for kids to have phones now. Especially since they walk home by themselves at, 10, 11 years old, and they need to be protected. this is where I'm gonna end the video for today. I do hope that this video was as good as it can be, and I promise that the next case will hopefully have a lot more to tell. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps be able to make more videos for you guys. And if you like my channel, please don't forget to ring the bell and make sure that you get the notifications every time I post a new video. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you on the next episode of the Truest Crime.